Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see we will be checking kit from Miniart. But first, as usual, let me invite you to check another video review with Miniart kit which you can find here on our website, and of course don't forget to visit our website webpage with articles and photos which you can find on this link. So as for today's subject, it should be familiar for you because I'm assembling this model at the moment. I'm assembling interior kit, but now we have a kit without interior. It's Su-122, also early production, of course it's 35 scale, but it is without the interior inside. So in total there are 488 plastic parts, which is like twice no less than in previous edition of the kit, and of course it will be faster to build because you won't have to spend time while assembling the engine, the front compartment and other parts. Nevertheless, there are some elements, internal elements included, because otherwise you just can't assemble this model, so you will see it in the video review. This is a top opening box, and on the side there are 3D renders of the assembled model, but I will show you assembled model. It's not yet finished, but I am copying this particular marking option, so it will be interesting to see how it looks like in assembled state, of course. And as usual, package is typical for Miniart. Here we have one plastic bag for all sprues, which is not that smart decision and design solution, let's say, because some parts are bent, let's say, straight, and therefore I would recommend to check all parts before the purchase. As for the assembly manual, it's also noticeably thinner than the previous version with interior. I mean, it's logical. And here we have short history note with technical specifications, parts map, and note that assembly process starts straight away from the whole floor. You just assemble it together with suspension columns, then you assemble the frontal plate, but the main gun should be quite detailed. As you can see, there are omitted some minor elements. Nevertheless, it will be quite nice even in such, let's say, version. Note that there are small parts included for the top roof of the frontal compartment, and of course all external elements are carefully copied, so you don't have to worry. There are 4 marking options included. Here you can see 2, and here are the 2. Some of them are new, some of them were featured in the previous edition of the kit. For example, this one, white one. But this one, I think it's a classic option, and it should be featured in every Su-122 kit. And I'm also noticing that it's slightly different vehicle, but we will see it further in the review, because in the previous version it was 908, and here we have 909. So it's the same unit, but this different vehicle, let's say. Now just give me a second to remove all plastic sprues from the plastic bag. It's a bit difficult task because sprues are quite large and you have to be careful while taking them out. Okay, so first I want to show you PE thread, which is packed into this nice small cardboard so that it won't be bent. This cardboard was taken from some of the Miniart kit, and here you can see that PE thread is also noticeably smaller than the one which is featured in interior kit, so it's also quite logical, I think. Next we have plastic bag with transparent parts and decals. Just give me a second again to open it. I've applied several decals on my vehicle, and I can say it's quite easy to work with them. Nevertheless, I noticed that, I mean, it's typical for all decals, but with some modern decals this principle is not that critical, but nevertheless you will need warm or hot water, because otherwise you're gonna have a really hard time with those stickers. Here are decals. Printing quality is quite nice, and on the vehicle they look also good. Of course, this round red circle I would rather recommend to replicate with painting, not with decals, so that it looks more natural on your vehicle. And here is the transparent part. Here we have different, let's say, periscopes for the interior, also some parts for the headlamps. But I can say that not all of them will be used in the kit. I mean, in my kit I didn't use some of those parts. Next we have a lot of small plastic sprues packed together into one plastic bag. So you have to be careful with those. And some of them are absolutely identical, given in like 8 or 9 pieces or maybe 10. So I will show you only one of those of each, so that you know what we have inside. Here is the first plastic sprue. This one carries minor elements for the external detailing. For example, here we have wheel caps, also special holders for the external tanks, also suspension arms, and also shock absorbers which should be inserted in the columns. Next we have exhausts, which are molded separately. You will have to cut them in order to install the rear armor plate, because otherwise it won't fit. So keep this in mind. It's clearly mentioned in the assembly manual, so I hope you won't miss it. And assemble your vehicle in the right way. Now just give me a second to remove other plastic screws. Actually, this big number of small plastic sprues is a bit confusing, because sometimes you just need to find one part for some particular element, and you have to search through the whole box in order to find a small frame with one small part which should be installed in some really, let's say, logical area. So I hope in the future kits we will see more logical parts distribution on the sprues. Here you can see a bit wider plastic sprue with special plain top part for the fuel tank, with which you can use PE parts. Also here we have some minor elements which are molded quite nicely, and with careful separation you can get a nice result. Here we have fuel tanks. Note that here we have a version of the fuel tank with belts molded in. It's a plastic, of course. Also suspension columns. Some minor elements for the top cover of the frontal compartment. Road wheels. These are molded as one-piece parts. They look quite nice. Manufacturer also designed them to be workable, but I doubt that any modeler will try to replicate this feature. I mean, we don't play with our models, right? Here we have an exhaust cover, idlers, and some thin parts for the external detailing. And of course tracks. With tracks I would recommend to be careful, because this should be clickable, but it is easy to break them and to get an ugly result. So be careful. Next we have slightly bigger sprues. For example, here we have a frame with external parts, for example rear armor plate, actually it's rear transmission cover, here is armor plate, here are top engine covers, and everything is molded nicely. Note those front fenders which are molded as one-piece parts, and they're easy to install. Actually I was quite surprised with fitment, because it's really perfect. It's just you place the part in the designated space and it just fits. I would say it's level of Tamiya, and in some cases it's even better. But again, you have to be careful while assembling all this. Here we have the front parts, for example glacis plate, also the rear wall of the frontal compartment, side walls, main gun covers, and also some parts for the top hull cover. Note those thin parts, you will have to be extra careful with them, because they are easy to break, and then you will have to use the metal wire, as I did, because I broke parts on my Su-122 and I had to replace them with something. Here we have parts for the main gun. As you saw in the assembly manual, it will be quite detailed. I would say it's not detailed as in interior kit, but it's nice, I would say, well, quality level for the out of the box detailing. So you should be satisfied, I think. And again, this main gun is quite easy to assemble. Here we have special part for this particular version, Su-122. This is a box which should be placed on the back side of our self-propelled gun. Next we have track links, which are packed into the separate plastic bag. This part should be assembled with this type of tracks, of course, and together they should be workable, but as I said before, you should be careful while trying to achieve such a result. And last and the biggest plastic sprue is dedicated to hull panels, of course. Here we have the bottom hull panel, side panels, also top hull cover. Note that there are two types of the engine cover. One can be assembled together with PE part, and usually this part might be bent. I mean, in my sample it was bent, so I had to use this plastic version. You will see it now. And also here we have some small hatches which should be placed on the vehicle. So that's all for plastic sprues. Now, as I promised, I will show you assembled vehicle, assembled model of this Su-122. Here it is. So this is a finished, it's not like final form. As you can see, it's slightly weathered. Still there are some decals to apply, some also drawings to do, and also of course weathering, but nevertheless you can see it in the final form. Of course I left the interior, let's say, accessible so that it is possible to show it for the observer. Here you can see it, and here is other part of the top cover. And everything looks more or less fine. I hope that final result will look even better. For all this painting I used MIG masks, as it's recommended by Miniart. And overall, as I said, I'm quite pleased with fitment, so I hope you also like the kit. As for today's version, it should be quite nice for those who won't like to spend their time assembling the interior, or just don't feel like assembling it or wasting extra money on this. So that's all for this video review. I hope you enjoyed it, and of course like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video review. Bye.